Nyaya isn't about argument, it's about reducing distortion, about seeing where perception bends, where inference jumps too quickly, where memory pretends to be truth. Think about how often we confuse seeing with knowing. We assume perception is neutral, but perception is already filtered by senses, by habits, by expectations. Nyaya seems to quietly acknowledge this without judging it. It doesn't say the senses are false, it just says they're limited. And once you see that, something shifts. You stop worshipping experience. You start examining it. There's a strange humility here. Nyaya doesn't promise liberation through emotion or devotion or surrender. It promises clarity through careful attention, through checking, through verifying, through learning how conclusions are formed before trusting them. And when I sit with that, it starts to feel less intellectual and more psychological. How many of our conflicts exist not because of wrong intentions, but because of unchecked assumptions? How many beliefs survive only because they were never properly examined? At some point, logic stops feeling external. It turns inward. You begin noticing how the mind argues with itself, how it leaps from one impression to another and calls it truth. Nyaya, in that sense, is not about winning debates. It's about slowing down the internal courtroom, letting evidence speak, letting silence cross-examine certainty. And there's something deeply stabilizing about that. When proof becomes a discipline rather than a weapon, thinking becomes quieter, cleaner, less dramatic, almost meditative. Doubt no longer feels threatening. It feels useful, like a sharpening stone rather than an enemy. What's interesting is that Nyaya doesn't stop at thought. It quietly points toward reality itself. Because once you ask how you know, the next question appears naturally. What is it that is being known? And suddenly logic starts leaning toward ontology, toward categories, toward structure, toward the building blocks of experience. Without announcing it, the inquiry begins to shift from proof to substance, from knowing to what is known, from reasoning to reality's architecture. And maybe that's where the journey naturally moves next. If logic has done its work and now wants to hand the lens over to something quieter, more structural. So we'll pause here, not because the inquiry is complete, but because it has ripened into a new direction. In the next movement of this journey, attention turns toward categories, substances, and the unseen scaffolding of reality itself, as explored through the Vasikishra. For now, just notice how often you conclude something today, and whether you really saw it or only assumed you did.